Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm sacrificing my 2021 Durango Hellcat for the better good. So temporarily I need a drivetrain for the Charger station wagon until I get the built 426, built transmission and transfer case, which is a little bit out. In the Durango Hellcat, she is not currently using the drivetrain that is in her. The reason behind this is because I've been waiting for parts for her since the beginning of the year, and I still don't think I'm going to get those for another couple months, which really makes sense to be able to drive the Charger station wagon while I finish the rest of the Durango. While the engine and transmission are out, I'm going to do a bunch of mods. Hopefully I can make around 900 to 1,000 horsepower. So then when the engine and transmission go back into the Durango, she'll be making the same power level and she'll be a lot more fun. I've also upgraded the Swift lowering springs, all adjustable arms from Black Ops Auto Works. We have headers for her. She's going to be a monster. But for the time being, let's pull the engine and transmission out of here. I'm going to start with draining the coolant. I got a bucket because it's brand new coolant, and we'll get everything off of here, drop the subframe, and since the Charger's already on the lift, I have to strip her right here. The supercharged 6.2 out of the Durango Hellcat, and I'm really actually happy that I ended up doing this, even though I'm going to be using the engine and transmission temporarily for the Charger station wagon. So there were a few things that I found when I pulled this that kind of concerned me, and I was also kind of planning on already replacing them. So to start off with, the lower control arms, I already planned on replacing both the lower fronts, both the lower rears, just because on one of the fronts, I think on both the driver's side, front and rear, they're actually scraped. So this thing did sort of, you know, roll over, or who knows what happened to it. It's fixed now, but it looks like, you know, there was some contact with the ground. On the passenger side, it also looks like right here, there are these marks, and I feel like those are from it bottoming out and hitting the upper, that little strut piece, which I've already painted. So I kind of have a concern about reusing these knuckles, which I have brand new knuckles, but I was gonna use them, I guess, temporarily on the Charger. We'll see how long it lasts with all this stuff in the Charger, or if I end up, you know, going full billet knuckle sooner than I think, but I'll probably end up ordering another set of brand new Trackhawk / Durango Hellcat front knuckles, just so that kind of resolves that issue. Because I don't, you know, you really don't want, you know, it already has these marks. It could break that off because there isn't really much material right there. So the driver's side one looked fine, but the passenger side, for some reason, maybe it's when they flipped it back over, if it was rolled up on its side, it just, I really don't think it rolled all the way on its side. You know, on the passenger side, it might have just bottomed out, but I would rather not have to worry about it, especially since it's such a fast vehicle. Also, for the time being, I'm going to use the brakes and the rotors and the hubs and the axles from the Durango on the Charger as well. I'll probably end up, you know, I plan on getting aftermarket axles, but all that stuff is so far out, it's not really worth pushing the project out anymore. I'm tired of waiting to drive this thing. I'd rather just drive it. So while the engine's out, right here, I also have supercharger spacers, which get rid of that issue where the stock gaskets blow out. It causes a lot of blow by because it's blowing oil. You know, it's blowing the pressurized air into the crankcase, which is then causing a lot of blow by. I also have the ATI normal size damper. I'm going to replace that with the overdrive one I have. So really all I have to do is undo those bolts. Since the hub's already on there, it's pretty simple. Just do that. Do the supercharger spacer. I need to get the tool so I could do the, actually I'll probably do the supercharger spacers when I do the smaller pulley. So we'll have the smaller pulley, the overdrive pulley, and then I need to get some fuel rails so I could do all, you know, a full fuel system on this thing. So when it goes in the Charger, so that shouldn't be that too difficult. I'm going to remove these cats, which actually looking at those cats now, I almost feel like those would fit in the Charger. The issue I had before was that the aftermarket headers, which are way up there now, they came out at a different, they came out weird, and I think those cats come out a lot lower than those do. So besides that, I'm still waiting on my aftermarket front drive shaft, so I'll have to pull that drive shaft off of there. I'm not going to separate the transmission from the engine or anything like that, or the transfer case from the transmission, but I need to add my support and just kind of go through this. I need to get it off the subframe, but I'm not going to worry about doing that until my subframe is powder coated. So what I'm going to do now, since the engine is finally out of the Durango, is I'm going to pull this brake booster, the rest of the lines. I'm going to pull all of this carpet or this heat shielding off of the firewall. All of this, which I really like this heat shielding that's on these because it's all bolted on instead of like on the Charger where it's just glued on. It makes it a lot nicer. And then after I get all of that stripped out, I'll strip this out. Like I said, everything will be out of here, the wiring, etc. I finally have everything stripped out of the engine bay, and this was a ton of work. So on the normal Hellcats, the wiring harnesses and the brake lines and the AC lines kind of have a decent routing. On the Durangos and the Trackhawks, probably the Durango more than the Trackhawk, there is no rhyme or reason to where stuff goes. So on the Durango, it has rear AC. I'm not sure if the Trackhawks do, but there's like AC and coolant lines that go everywhere. The brake lines are going everywhere. And then there are 2 engine bay wiring harnesses that are very large. I mean, I'm not talking about kind of large. There's one of them. The other one, nope, that's not it. The other one is over there. And then the interior harness just gets even more complicated. So now that everything's stripped out of here, when I was actually stripping it, I thought that Dodge painted the whole firewall because the brake booster, where you can see it, was painted, and then I pulled the pad and it's not painted. I was planning on painting the engine bay in the Durango today, but decided against it because I need to get this over to my friend's body shop so he can put it on his frame machine and use his laser tracking system to make sure there isn't anything weird going on with his strut tower. I don't think there is, but it's just a precaution I would like to take just because I don't want to paint the engine bay and then go and have to do it later on. The reason I want to do this is because on the driver's side, when I got the vehicle, they hit a deer and then they like half rolled it or something, got it back on its wheels, and this piece of the support right here was really tweaked in. So what I think happened is when they hit the deer, it tweaked this in, which caused this to shift just a hair. So as you can see, this bolt hole isn't lined up, and this one is perfectly lined up. And over here, you can see it isn't touching right there. It's kind of tweaked a little bit. So I think what's going on is it needs to come over this way, a 1/4 inch, and probably just needs to be pulled by this bar right here and pulled over and down, and then it will resolve all these issues. But instead of just doing that and not really having any, you know, not knowing where I'm going with it and not knowing if this has moved, he said it's possible it could have moved, but without checking anything by measuring it, there's not really a way to tell. So in 2 weeks, he said he has some time and we'll be able to go get it on the frame machine, get everything straightened out. Then after that's done, I can paint the engine bay and everything will perfectly line up. Even though when I had everything on here, which is really weird, when I first bolted it together, everything bolted on. The only thing that was weird was this factory air box was having like this weird, it didn't like to clip in to, there's this little pin that comes out of this right here, and the factory air box clips into it, which this bolts onto that thing, which kind of makes sense. So it, you know, the headlight lined up, everything else lined up, the grill, the hood. It just had, you know, once I put it back together after I stripped the engine out of it, it just, you know, must not have, you know, I must have put it on a different way. I might have just bolted this on first and then bolted it to this bar and never maybe really noticed it. But I'm really happy that I test fit this one more time and made sure, because I don't want to have to go and have weird, you know, one headlight. As you can see, that one's a little bit more angry looking than the other side. But I'm going to end the video here. Really happy that I have the harnesses out of the Durango. So what I plan on doing is I'm going to use these harnesses in the Charger. Well, not these harnesses. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix and match. So I'm going to make a Charger / Durango harness, because I want, my thoughts are, I want the fuse box that's right there in the back of the Charger, hopefully. On the Durango, it's pretty crazy how much wiring there is. So besides that huge harness that's in the engine bay, that harness, and the harness that's over there on the carpet, there's also a huge harness that's on the interior on both sides, as you can see. And then there's also a huge harness on both sides underneath the car. So I'm gonna have to pretty much just go through everything, and I'm probably gonna be deleting quite a bit of wiring since, you know, on the Charger there isn't rear AC, there isn't, I want to delete the active dampening. So I guess there is supposedly an issue if the active dampening isn't connected. Jose told me that the all-wheel drive won't work. I didn't have the active dampening struts or a module connected to the Durango when I was test driving it, because one of them was broke and the plug was broke, and the all-wheel drive worked perfectly. So I would much rather delete that large computer, because it is quite large. So it is, you know, right here. I don't really need this big, and it's not heavy. I don't really need that computer. All I need is this one right here for the transfer case control. So I can just, you know, mount this. I plan on mounting it over by the body control module, probably right underneath it. On the Durango, which is weird, is they have this module mounted in here. Then the wiring goes all the way around to the hole right there. And the plugs on the transfer case, if they would have just made the hole right here, they could have had less wiring, less weight, and it would have plugged, it would have been the same thing. I don't understand factory wiring from car companies. It doesn't make any sense. This car literally does not need wiring harnesses running back and forth a million times. And I've shown that on my 240SX over there. I tucked the wiring harness, took out like 40 pounds of wiring, and everything still works. I have more stuff, more wiring than a factory 240. It has the power folding mirrors, it has the digital climate control, it has AC, it has all the headlights, fog lights, marker lights, everything is in there, gauge cluster, power windows, and I have all of that done with this one factory fuse box and a few more relays. No fuse box in the engine bay, nothing like that. It's crazy because factory wiring just gets like way too complicated. So I'm going to do the same thing with the Charger. I really want to run, I'm probably going to end up getting a Hellcat wiring harness for this engine, since the Trackhawk has the ECU plug in the front and the Hellcat has the ECU plug coming out of the back, because it mounts in between the firewall and the strut tower, which is a lot nicer. And then I want to add this harness, where's it at? Well, wherever the harness is at for the transfer case control, I want to just add that to the harness, because the plug comes out here, it goes into the car, and then the wiring harness just needs to go to this plug right here and that plug over there, which, why wouldn't you have that just coming off of this plug right here, or this part of the harness? It just run back, you have all this room that has no exhaust going by it, and you could just sheath it just like this. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. So we'll get this all sorted and get everything fixed on this. Oh, it's right here. This is, so this huge harness is, look at this thing. Look how long this thing is. Look at that. This is the transfer case control / active dampening system harness, which it doesn't even, like, this right here is for the transfer case right here, but then it runs all the way back there. This harness could literally be, look at this. It could be the same length, but it could take up a lot less space. Actually, it'd probably be a lot shorter. Look at that. Plug. Oh my God, look at that. Oh, it would work so much better. And then come out right there by the ECU. I don't understand factory car companies, but I'm gonna end the video here. We'll get all of the Charger wiring sorted. We'll get the Durango sorted. I just need to, you know, I don't want to rush things and have a Durango that has like a one headlight pointing down or something. It's kind of weird, because when I had everything together, it didn't do that. But I'd rather fix this now than have to worry about it looking weird later. You know, I want to get this engine, like I said, temporarily in the Charger. I'm going to do a bunch of mods to it, like I'm doing the overdrive pulley. Actually, I already have the ATI damper on there, as you can see right there. So I'm going to swap it with the overdrive ATI damper that I have, the smaller supercharger pulley the overdrive damper, I think ups the boost to like 3 to 6 PSI, and then that smaller pulley should up the boost another, I think they said like 10. So if we can get like if we could get it to like 20 pounds of boost, or 25, it'll probably blow the supercharger up, but we'll be ripping. And that's probably gonna be in a coming up video. Like I said, I need to pull the supercharger off, get those spacers in there. I need to get the snout off to replace the pulley. We'll just sort everything out on this engine, put the aluminum oil pan over there that I made for the charger, and just get the new engine mounts, etc. on there. But I am going to end the video here. If you like these videos, make sure to click the subscribe button, throw a thumbs up, throw a comment below. As always, see you guys next time.